good
Now
at it.
you're
Maybe
where
good
you
at it,
should
but
be.
It takes me forever, because I wordsmith it so many times.
You're like one of the team.
You are, George. Definitely.
Good morning, everyone. Start the meeting with Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You have to remember that I still have 2 girls in high school, and I sit on bleachers for hours at a time. So this is very comfortable compared to bleachers at any gymnasium.
Do you have one of those bleacher chairs?
No, I don't.
I have some in my garage.
Barry doesn't need one.
Well, they
doesn't
don't,
need one.
they don't work in most, I mean, you get the ones that hook, then they don't work in swing, and like,
I
Trying to
got
help you.
thanks.
agenda confirmation.
No addition.
Anybody else?
I don't have anything.
Hearing none, motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second.
Erica and Dave, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Minutes of the 19th, November 19th meeting. Corrections, additions?
I have one. So on page 2 of 3, under number 1, under Carrie's report, the last bullet point, should we approved to the per diem for the road tour and the joint tribal meetings. Do we is it just understood that we approve mileage, or do we have to put mileage in there too?
Oh, I think
I would just assume it was mileage,
Okay,
I would, yeah.
No, it was per diem mileage.
because, yeah.
okay. The word mileage wasn't in there. I know we had intended to do that. I was just wondering if we have to put that word in there, but, okay. That's all I had.
That's okay,
Hearing
Mary.
nothing. Erica?
I didn't have anything.
Mary found one.
Mary found one.
Erica, you have anything?
Nope, I don't have anything.
Richard?
No.
Is it?
Motion to approve.
approved. Mary?
I'll second.
Erica? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Consent agenda, is there anything that somebody wants to pull or further explanation?
Nope, I don't have anything.
Anybody else?
Nope.
Move to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Erica and Dave. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Commissioners, Nate, is anybody on open forum back there? Okay, that's different.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Okay, go on to Commissioner reports to correspondence. Who wants to go? Find mine.
I can go first. I had Becker County Extension. We provided annual committee input on the Extension Regional Director and 4-H Educator Programming. There is an opening for the Becker County Extension in District 2. I don't know who's District 2.
Me.
So,
I was
District 2.
thinking that. On the
On,
extension?
yeah, Becker County Extension, possibly District 3. Erin was considering hanging her up. I think this is her second term. The 4-H award ceremony was on November 17th. There were 138 people in attendance. 4-H enrollment is down slightly. There's 174 members enrolled in 77 families. The Master Gardener Program, 22 of the 25 gardeners have volunteered 1,223 hours in Becker County alone. So I just wanted to
Just to point out that since I've been commissioner, our volunteer hours in between the library and extension and just every other is just tremendous. I mean, we're so blessed with the people that volunteer their time and energy. And a shout out to everyone. And Sandy's here today, kind of showing that she's willing to volunteer even after she's, after retirement, and that's what makes this community real special. So,
including the 4-H. The 4-H, I don't remember if you said the 4-H, but 4-H also is very outstanding in their volunteers.
Oh.
And we're one of the better counties in Minnesota. So Then we had our comp plan, which we're going to be discussing later. And then also Richard and I had the EDA. Fernando with the extension came and presented the 2022 retail trade analysis, which I have a copy of it. Richard has a copy of it. It's actually very, very interesting, and it shows really where you can see trends in what our retail is outstanding in. I think building materials, we're like super high in, and we are in the neighboring counties have the best retail trade.
Yeah,
So
we have the biggest share of all of them, and by quite a bit.
by quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's,
And that's the 2022 numbers, so they're always a couple years behind. So Fernando's going to come next year and present the 23 numbers.
I just mentioned this to Phil yesterday that Becker County has more sales than Clay County if you exclude excluding vehicles on the sales tax. We pull in more revenue on our half-cent sales tax than Clay County pulls in on their half-cent sales tax. That, I think I would have to confirm that to swear by it, but I know that was the case, initially when they started this. Unless I got a partial year or something, but we sell, look at what our half-cent sales tax revenue does for this county.
Yeah.
It's huge. What last year was 3.8 million or 3.6 million, so
Yep.
we are, Becker County, we're so fortunate in so many ways here.
That kind of shows that, originally they figured 70% from out of county people coming to
Yeah.
contribute.
Yeah.
So it's highly.
So if you guys want to look at it, I have a copy of it.
if you guys, somebody should look at this.
Yes, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Then the other thing that Richard and I said we were going to bring up is we also talked about the leases. I think we went over 3 different leases for some of the EDA buildings, and one of them is the workshop building that Becker County Extension is in. And right now, I think Becker County Extension pays $350 a month. So the EDA proposed to increase it significantly because the EDA in 2023 had a net loss of $9,738, and in 2024 it's going to be right around $7,300. So their proposed increase is up to $950 a month, so that basically the EDA will break even, so that they're not going to be spending EDA money for that building. I know that there are other. That's exactly what I said, Barry.
We had that discussion too, Barry, but should the EDA be paying for it? And there's other people using that building too, so and I guess you're right, it is from one hand to the other. I don't know.
Other than the EDA does levy their own money, and it does go towards other things, but.
The EDA levy is exactly the same proportionally than the general levy, so it makes no difference to any taxpayer when they pay their bill. Zero.
Yes.
In finance yesterday, we had a discussion about this, and Carrie's suggestion that the county really needs to get into a space study, but
Yeah.
with somebody, because we got vacant places.
Yep.
Well, as soon as we can get into that transit building, I would assume the building at Extension we would get rid of.
Well, I pretty much think the building is the county's right now.
The transit building?
Yes.
Have we paid it off?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that we
Yeah,
paid up.
yeah,
No one
it's paid
reported
off.
that to me.
Yep.
I think all final paperwork is done on it. So it's in our county's hands.
When did that happen?
Month or better.
Yeah, maybe months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you recall when that happened?
Well, then I think the first step is to look at the transit building and seeing what needs, if the extension can move over there. If the Fair Board at one time expressed that they would prefer that the Fair Board move into that, but it might not be big enough to accommodate all the needs of the
They
extension.
asked us at Fair Board last Monday, status of it, I said, the same.
Yeah.
Because we really don't have a direction.
Yeah, we don't have a direction.
Well, and I know in our conversations at Extension before, Extension has not been favorable Of the idea
Yeah,
of
they don't
moving
wanna
over.
move there, but that's them.
But we
That's
have,
fair.
we have that building which is expendable. I mean, we can sell that one. The one at the fair, we can't sell. I
Yep.
mean, we can't, we have to retain that one. So
Yes, okay.
it's not a matter of exactly what everyone wants. It's a matter of what's reasonable.
Makes
and
sense.
Financially best interest of the county.
Yeah, to me, it makes sense being there.
Yep.
Yes, I agree it does.
I agree too.
But I think the first step then would be to conduct a needs, what extension, how much area they need. They need I mean, we would probably have to convert at least one stall into a meeting area for extension in the transit building.
That's correct.
So you'd seal off one door and make a room there and, but I think that's the first step if we want to do. And I don't know who you would have lead that charge to see what the needs are for space. I mean, we don't need to hire it done. It's not that big of an office space.
You know, you could go look what they're using now and
Yeah, that's exactly, but
who's gonna do it.
who do you want to?
Well,
do
and
it?
I think the reason why, I mean, Linda does a very good job over at Extension of making sure that the heat is on, but low enough that, we're not, pipes aren't freezing and,
The other thing is that we have, Becker, the dive rescue uses the back space also, so we'd
Yeah.
have to find a place for them. Would we pull them over to transit at this time? Or is the Fair Board still willing, is that the still direction that the Fair Board wants for the use of the building? And then the next thing would be, if we move forward with a impound building, how much area are we going to have long-term at the transit building to store the dive and rescue? I mean, can that stay at transit then? Or does that need to come over to impound, that?
The Fair Board in discussion has no issue like what we're doing now. The sheriff's department is using it during the winter, paying the utilities. Then it's pulled out of there when they want to use it. So I don't think they'd have a.
But I think those are the questions, and I think this
Short-term,
needs,
yeah.
this needs to come driven from the board, because we don't want to send someone over there doing space needs study and saying, well, this is just me, like Carrie, you do it on your own, they're going to go, well, but if this comes from this board,
Yeah.
and I think we should move forward with it, then it's directed by the board. That's not because you're trying to be, this is our decision. I think we need to move forward with this, and hopefully that building will be, up for sale, and we can get rid of at least one building now.
yeah, I think that makes sense.
So we'll probably don't worry about the rent then.
Well, I mean, the
Well, you know
lease
it's
expires,
controversial.
but yes.
And if we are gonna do something, then it is from one hand to the other.
It is, yeah.
We don't need to start it.
Are we all in agreement that we want to look at the capabilities of doing that, moving them there? Is that kind of?
Yeah, I think the first step is making sure the Fair Board, that's the direction that they still think is the best interest for both parties, and then
So,
we,
should we designate somebody to do that? Is that what you're saying?
well, I would assume Carrie.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Carrie's
I would
here.
assume it was me.
Yeah, I'm assuming the same thing.
Yeah.
But I think, I think you make sure the Fair Board is still saying, yes, this is the
Yeah.
best option. We
Yeah.
don't need this except for this time at this,
Yep.
kind of get that down, and
Very beneficial during the
I think so,
2
yeah.
weeks prep for fair or month there.
And I think, we have to take into account that there are some concerns from the staff that would be transitioning. I think we have to look at those also.
Yep.
And make sure that we, try to address those before anything else too, so.
Yep.
And that was all I had.
Okay, thanks. Barry?
Thank you. I was unavailable because had a basketball game I had to go to. I've been missing a couple basketball games because of evening meetings, and I hate evening meetings, but I had a joint powers meeting. We had a presentation by Shelley Carroll. She was doing the sustainability scoring from Wayfinder. They discuss quantifying the soil, water, and nutrient retention. So that was pretty interesting. Ron Staples, he's a commissioner from Stevens County. He gave an update. He's on the Bowser board. The DNR, and this is something Highway would be interested in, John, you probably already heard about this, but the DNR is proposing that they have to approve every culvert replacement in all roads now. which would be significant.
I've heard the rumbling.
So it's ridiculous. Now, I would say, I could agree to if it's altering the size or the height of the existing culvert, you need DNR. But if it's replacing the same culvert with the same diameter, there's no reason that you're gonna have state oversight on your local governments doing this. And
Well, the watersheds played into some of it in their districts, if you're especially changing the size.
right, and that's reasonable. If you're changing the size of it, you're gonna put more water on then yes, then you should have someone else double checking, or, I don't know, still doesn't make, but, and then we were talking about, in Clay County, there is a, the company's called Durrell Company, it's a solar company. They're proposing a huge solar farm down by Wilkin, Clay County, Wilkin. And what happens is if these solar farms get to be so big, and I can't remember the number, I think it's 5,000 acres, if they're use over 5,000 acres, they don't need county approval. They go right to the public utilities. They don't abide by county ordinances, then they go over county and go right to state. So that you can put all the ordinances you want in place, and they will increase that size to go around the county and to the state. So, I don't know if there's any ways to kind of get, I don't know if there's any road restrictions that we can, or road requirements for, so it makes you start thinking, is there ways that we can help, manage some of this, or try to have some control over it if it get to be so large? But that was kind of the most interesting fact on that one, and Jenny was talking about it. Had sheriff's meeting. I won't talk about that one. No.
I think, yeah.
There's I think they're on the.
I think most everything's on agenda. The only thing that was the coordinating the data to come up with a fix for the humidity issue. That was one thing we.
Yeah, and the other thing was the revenue. I think the revenue is up for the jail for
Yep.
the federal prisoners from 226,000 in '23 and up to 272,000 already this year. And I don't know what the time state it was at the 1st of November.
The date was October 31st.
So it's increased from that
46.
federal and other.
Other housing.
So I think the other couple things are on the agenda, and one we just didn't really move forward. Lakeland Mental Health, still doing well financially. They are, we had the ribbon cutting in the new building in Moorhead a month ago, so that went well. They're concerned with a big crack in the wall down in Fergus Falls. So, and one of the funny things with Lakeland, they had their capital outlay plan was huge, was like 3 pages long, and they had so many annually occurring things that we just said, let's just do capital. And I think I touched on this before. They had a carryover capital, but once it got to a certain level, then they put it back in their general fund. They didn't want to keep growing that fund, but there was a cap. But anyway, I think that's it. I'll check. I think that was it for my.
I'll go next then. So I had a DAC meeting. We finalized our updates to our bylaws, so they're all done. We set the budget for next year. We are also we had an issue with a driving issue or an accident, so we are going to meet with the personnel committee and update our driver safety policy, because it basically, all it said was follow Minnesota rules. Didn't really say anything else. So we figured we need a little bit more in there. We're going to have the DAC is growing. So there's going to be, next year, we're going to have some discussions on space and maybe expanding or whatever, what options we might have, so forth. And then one interesting thing happened. In 2021, we overpaid the IRS. So they gave us a $56,000 refund.
Nice.
And it would just so happen, that's what I thought. It just so happened we had approved like a month before that to purchase a new van, and we were making the down payment on the new van was going to be $50,000. So kind of worked out nice, so. Yeah, I was like, wow. John and I had a fair board meeting, and the fair board has decided that their number one priority in the near future is to replace the horse barn and possibly move the horse arena to a back further, or was it, I think it was back further and over southeast corner, yeah. And that way they could have more parking, they'd maybe set up some parking over there also. But they decided that's their number one priority, and J&K had previously expressed maybe interest in helping fund that building because they would like to store boats in there in the off season. So, but they don't know. That was a conversation for over a year ago. So that might not happen. But that would be that'd be cool. They also decided to do the rodeo again next year. So that's an exciting thing.
Instead of tractor pull.
Instead of tractor pull, yeah. There was one person that was upset. Then those handicap bleachers that they haven't paid for them yet, but they've ordered them and they're done. They will have that ready by the fair time next year. So that'll be a nice set of handicap bleachers on by the flagpole on the northeast side of the grandstand area. So that should work out pretty good. Is there anything else on that, John?
No, it's pretty much,
Then I went to Sunnyside. The nursing home's doing real well. The bottom line is unbelievable. It's their bottom line for their end of the year happens at the end of September, and so their bottom line was just about 300,000. So that was a nice. They're doing well. There's a workforce board that mandated wage increases to nursing home workers, and it was unfunded. So now not all, but most of Sunnyside's employees were already above that threshold, or were doing because Ashley McNally does a great job of making sure that her employees are paid right, and so we can retain them and so forth. She does a great job of that. However, there's a lot of other nursing homes that weren't, and this board is not. It's not an elected board. It's a appointed board, and there's been a lawsuit filed, and they're claiming that workforce board stepped outside of their capacity by requiring these raises without having them being funded. So.
Was that for all employees or?
That was a
like
state-
including nurses? Okay.
Well, each, not all employees,
Not all.
but each one had a specific, I mean, they separated each.
Each position.
Each
Yeah.
position out, yeah.
So, and I don't think it extended to like, kitchen, or.
No, it was CNAs,
CNAs.
LPNs, and I don't know if nurses were involved. I think they might have been. The big one is the CNAs, though. That was what triggered the lawsuit, I think.
But Ashley has kept ahead of that.
Yes, yeah.
And she's kept an eye on the market, and we've had mid-year raises a couple times when we couldn't keep people, and people were, jumping for, to different places for, those
Yeah.
smaller amounts, so she's done very well.
And then one thing I learned that I didn't know is when a person that is a resident in the nursing home has to, let's say, go to the hospital for a couple days or whatever, or something, their bed has to be held for them. Well, if they're on medical assistance doesn't pay for that. And they won't reimburse that. So sometimes, not all the time, but there are times when the nursing home has to eat that bed for a while, not eat the money on the bed. And it's just the way it is. But I didn't realize that medical assistance wouldn't pay for that, even though that person generally comes back in a couple days. But, yeah, that's all I had. Do you have any? I guess you. Never mind.
I did also go to Lake Agency Regional Library meeting, and we're planning to move into the new building, but we don't have an agreement with Moorhead yet because they rent the space back to us. But anyway, we did a three-year contract for employees, and we did a study from Birkeland, did the study on it, and found that we are drastically underpaying the employees. So they got the 3-year was a 10, 8, and 6. But if you remember, there's openings in like the link sites, and they'd tell people what the salaries are and they'd laugh at them and they'd just turn out, they wouldn't even, just turn around. It was that poor. $13-14 an hour
Oh,
for
wow.
a supervisor for it's like, yeah, we're leaving.
Yeah.
So,
So then I also had a partnership for health. I'll go quickly here. I got a couple more, so.
oh my.
I know, isn't that awesome? So so anyway, we decided that the bylaws need to be updated. We currently have co-administrators that run the Partnership for Health, and they're going to change that to one administrator. So Otter Tail County is going to be to have the administrator that's going to administrate the program, and Clay County is still going to be the financial host. So, and they've agreed, it's an amicable deal. It's tough to have two people running one organization because, especially when one is in Clay and one is in Otter Tail and they don't communicate, it's hard to sometimes get things correctly done the right way. We also requested as a board to have more detailed financial information. All of the funding is through grants. And there's a list, there's a huge page of tons of grants. And we just want to know more information about how this happens. And since they have to report quarterly to the state, all of these grants are reported quarterly, then when we meet quarterly, so we're going to have quarterly reports, which is actually really good so we can understand a little bit better. Because we just show up 4 times a year and we don't know everything they do, so that helps us out a lot. And then we also looked at the Clay County currently has the financial host, so the Partnership for Health pays a third of the accountant's salary that works for Clay County, and we believe that that's probably not enough because he's really overworked. So they're going to do some investigating and see if the Partnership for Health has to contribute more and because we're requiring more out of that accountant, then maybe we even have to hire someone to do some of that too. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at. And then one other thing too is that all the dental opportunities that have happened in our 4 counties since 2020, they showed us a map, and it's amazing about all the portable clinics that have opened up, where they come to schools, where they'll do the permanent places in all these counties, and the map is unbelievable about how much more opportunities people have to get dental care. So, and that was driven partly by the Partnership for Health. Okay, sheriff was good. I went to the wild rice policy meeting for Barry, and that was really interesting. I'd never been to a meeting like that. We approved all their grant funding from 21. Their 21 grant funding is done. 23, they've got about 20% of it is being used. But the most interesting thing that I found was that, it might not be interesting to everybody, it was to me, is each partner at the end of the meeting went through and talked about what they've done that year and what they're going to do the next year, the projects for the wild rice, water and soil partners. And I don't know, there was so many, it's kind of cool and interesting to see how they're using their money that is coming from that organization, and they talk about it. And I thought it was interesting, but anyway. So that was kind of it about that. And then John and I had a transit meeting. Our riderships for October were up 19%. That's a lot. And then as of the meeting in November, which we had right before Thanksgiving, we were up 6% for November riderships. And in the last 3 months, Kevin said he's got 133 new riders, which is a lot, according to him. And what's amazing is he came to have our meeting, and then when I left, I saw him drive away in the transit bus because he had to go drive her out. So he needs driver help, and mainly between, like he said, 11 and 3:30 was the busy time. But they do have a driver that's working on his CDL and passenger endorsement, so hopefully that person will become a full-time employee and help that out.
He can drive the small bus without.
He can drive the small bus, yeah. And then some good news, and Kevin said, well, I'll believe it when I see it, is the new bus could be here as possibly early as February. And I believe that's all I have. Unless you want me to keep going.
One thing that he's mentioned that stood out is this year, the ridership is up by over 5,000 rides.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's expanding it.
From the same time last year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said there's times they have 7 buses going, then they actually could use more during the peak time. And it's just getting more and more during that
Yeah.
peak afternoon or time, so it's getting utilized, so. Richard, do you have anything?
All I had was EDA with Erica, and we covered that.
No. I had a few Prairie Lakes Municipal Solid Waste. This year we could see a deficit of about 390,000 because we had to install those grates in the incinerator that really wasn't budgeted for, but it'll be made up through reserves. And since then, we started the capital outlay program, so we got money going in the fund every year. Otter Tail County has signed a purchase agreement for additional 10 acres adjacent to the present ash landfill there between Perham and Mills to expand the ash screening and stockpiling so we have a little more room to work. That will be, I think Otter Tail is going to be using some ash this year. I think Becker County is slated on some projects for 26. And we did apply for a grant to help offset some of those costs for the Prairie Lakes for that. And they did give their COLA employees a 2.65% increase for 25. And comp plan review, Fair Board, Wanigan Park, mainly went through some finance reviews and and I think we still have earmarked, excuse me, 150,000 out of our smart money for the coming year to help with the road project there. Transit, finance, that's about it. Anything else? Thanks. Any appointments?
Mr. Chair, I've asked, I think Carrie probably forwarded you, but there's an appointment at Lake Agassiz Regional Library Board. Terry Khalil has termed out, so she'd like to stay on, but she has to, for their bylaws, has to move on. But I've got Ben Grimsley's expressed interest. He's a former board member. I don't know if you're willing to put him on today. I don't know it's not a well, I mean, it's just not something that there's a lot of people interested in, but he would be vital. I mean, with the knowledge that he has coming onto the board, he would be very good doing that, especially with the transition to the new facility, so.
Peggy was just telling me that it's advertised in the paper, so the intent was to do it for our next meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll look at that then, but he would be an excellent choice, in my opinion, to put on that for this.
He served on there.
He served a term, 9 years on there during his tenure here, so. And they really respected his financial input there, so.
Oh, in addition, Cormorant Lakes will be coming back on the,
Yep.
the next
Watershed.
Yep.
watershed.
Watershed.
And they have, the two that have expressed interest in retaining their position, so. If we don't hear from anyone else, we can reappoint.
And there will be one coming up in Pelican River Watershed also.
I heard they got rid of one of their lame ducks.
They couldn't work with them anymore. Okay. Nothing else, or we'll move on to county administrator report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first thing that I would like to report on, and I believe all of the board knows, but I'm not sure that all the public knows, with regards to Sheriff Glander's award for Hometown Heroes. And so I think that was a big accomplishment, and I was told that that was the only award given in Minnesota. Is that correct? Yeah, by the Boy Scouts. So that's what you heard as well. So.
Congratulations, Sheriff.
In addition, I last week attended the Project 412 event. That was a thank you for any community members that were a part of that, and it was interesting. I got to meet, there was a lot of people there, and got to meet a lot of people. I had some good conversations. The other
just a shout out to the 412. I mean, everyone thought that the trolls are a good idea, but no, I don't think we in our wildest dreams thought they would be what they are and what they have done for the community. So just a huge shout out to the members of 412 and congratulations on such a successful campaign.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody could have predicted what they would have brought to the area.
And it'll go on for years until
Yeah,
they.
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Amy does an awesome job running that organization.
Yeah. And then that's really all I have on my generic report. The other items I'll go through them one by one. The first consideration is the Resolution 1224-1A for the reappoint for our county assessor for the next 4-year term.
Was Lee coming down at all?
He was online.
I would like to have him, I mean, I'm sure you've heard the assessed values of farmland has went up significantly, and I
I
thought
did hear
maybe,
that.
I thought maybe he would come and explain some of that, so if he could just,
We can hold off on that. Yeah.
I would just like him, I mean, I think we know it, but if you recall, the state came in and mandated some of those too, so I'd like him to refresh our memory on what categories the state came in and said, not only are you raising it we're going to come in and raise it another 10%. And then just have a short discussion on, I mean, that's not sustainable price for farmland, but I don't know what you do about it because we don't have many options, so.
Okay, I'll come back to that then.
The only thing on the resolution, it says the current term began January 1st, 2021. That's not for Lee.
He took,
He
So he
took
came in
it
midterm,
and-
so that's-
yes, that's-
There he is.
that's how it is.
Lee.
perfect.
Well, we can take care of it now.
Welcome, Lee. I was just asking, and as farmland has went up significantly. I've heard, actually I've heard and personally have seen, so it's a significant increase. But I think if you can explain why that increase was, obviously we know what the farmland is selling, but explain what the state did on that, and use the microphone because there are, I'm sure, people interested in.
Yes, so in the last assessment, after the state looked at all the sales and the ratios, we were below the ratios that we needed to be at. So last year, after all the boards were held, we got a state increase on all tillable land, 20%.
This was after after the county looked at it and we made adjustments, increased adjustments. The state came in after the county did
Yep.
and raised an additional 20%.
Made the tillable and all the rural vacant land, so woods, that was raised 10%. So everyone saw their green notices last year. They saw a value on it, whatever it was. Say it was $200,000. They got their TNT notice this year, and now it's that same one says $240,000. Well, just that was the increase.
That was the state mandated increase
Yep.
after we set what we.
And those are unappealable. They're across the board.
You know, and one thing that I've heard, or that, you know, even looking at it myself, while these sales have been out there,
Yep.
but I just think the state's gonna have to look at this and say, what can we do? Because this, you know, it was a 50% increase.
Well, one of the things they did do, they raised the tier limit from just under $2 million to $3.5 million.
For credit.
Not for credit, but the credit didn't change. But so the ag homestead percentage is 0.5%. And it maxed out at just under 2 million before. Now it maxes out at 3.5 million.
And then it goes to 1.
Then it goes to 1. So non-homestead ag and anything over $3.5 million under an ownership is all at 1%.
And that under.
That's
under
state
is point.
legislature.
Yep. But, I mean, yeah, it didn't, that's not going to help a whole lot when you increase 50%.
It isn't, but then we're in that boat where people buy, they pay way more than we have on it, and so we have to raise.
Right, I'm.
And it goes the other way too.
You look at commodity, it's really difficult when commodity prices are so low. I mean, and you look at that, say it's a $7,000, if you tried to buy an acre for $7,000 and you're paying 6% interest, what is that, $420 a year interest on that, plus your taxes? I mean, obviously it doesn't pay. You cannot in any way, shape, or form make that cash flow. Maybe on sugar beets you can, but corn, soybeans, wheat, there's nothing that, so you just like, I can see a farmer wanting to buy an 80 next to him, and I can understand, but boy, it's just like, you're betting on the future that inflation's going to take this to the right spot or something.
Well, over the years, I've seen properties increase drastically, and everyone says the same thing, and I don't disagree with it, because I grew up on a farm. I grew up understanding that dynamic. And how does that cash flow? It just doesn't.
It makes a lot of paper millionaires.
But
Yes.
then I've seen the values drop. So then we have to follow it down. Now, going up, we're behind. Going down, we're behind because of our lag period in
Is
it.
there a refund at the state to file when your property tax goes up that much? Are you aware?
I'm not aware of that.
I-
There's the property tax refund, yes, but that's usually on your house.
Okay,
I don't know of anything at this point on just land.
okay.
And Lee, correct me if I'm wrong, there were other properties that were also state mandated
Oh, yes.
increase in Becker. Lake
So-
Shore was one?
Yeah, so there was, I don't remember all the jurisdictions, but countywide, it was all the tillable and all the rural vacant land. 20% tillable, 10% rural vacant land. Then there were 4 jurisdictions that were low that got 5% increases on top of that. So if you happen to be in one of those 4 jurisdictions and you had land, you could have had your tillable go up 20%, your rural vacant land go up 10%, and your residential stuff go up 5%. So it could have been, there were a lot of changes.
Well, thanks, and we'll hear again the same thing, I'm sure, or you'll be explaining this many times on next Tuesday also, but it helps us understand how to communicate that. But I knew the state came in and raised it, so it's nice to hear those numbers again now that we're getting the discussions and rate.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yes,
thank
thanks,
you.
Lee.
So with that, we have a resolution in front of us.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 1A to reappoint our county assessor. Yep.
I'll second.
Motion by Dave, second by Erica. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thanks, Lee.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item that I had, I did some research on commissioner salaries to set that for next year. And what I found, I had 14 comparables that I used, and what I found with the commission here is that you were at the bottom. And so as I looked at an average of those 14 comparables, what I ended up doing was taking part of the difference to get you up, not even at the midpoint of those 14. And that is how I came to the salary that I am recommending. With that said, I think it's imperative to keep in mind that the county's pay philosophy has been for all other positions, department heads all the way down to the lower end or the lower paying positions, to get everybody up to market, actually at 100% or above. So I think it's only the right thing to do also to look at, and I should say before I say that, the elected officials as well, we did negotiate their salaries. They got significant increases as well. So you all being elected officials, I think the pay increase is warranted. So that would be my recommendation.
Just to note, this kind of does away with the longevity.
Yes, I did look at longevity, and our research would indicate that longevity isn't something that one should have attached to an elected official's salary. You can't have the difference in salaries. So looking at anybody that may have fallen in for the longevity as well, so.
That'd be me.
Yeah,
I was,
I was up there a little.
yeah.
and Tiara will be bringing in some modifications to the personnel policy that references that as well, so.
Got Resolution 1B.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 1B.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Erica? Further discussion?
I do want to state that this will take away the longevity.
Yes.
And I know this is a significant increase, but if you wanted to look at my salary, what it would be, it's obviously quite a bit different than what the newer commissioners, and I think everyone should be on the same level as commissioners. I don't.
I guess I didn't realize we were getting longer
Yeah,
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And I think it's important to note too that the last couple years, through the significant increases that we have given employees, we have not
You haven't.
gotten one, so.
oh, and the commissioners don't have lane changes now or longevity. So there's that. But I just did some math, and if we did a 6% increase and took my longevity, what it would be this year, and if we did the same increase as we did for all the employees to get that longevity, mine would be 31.5, so it's $400 more than what I would have made if we'd have to change policy for commissioners like we change it for the rest of it. So it's not for me, it's not here nor there, so, but I'm
There
fine.
wasn't anything in the resolution about back pay.
No, this is effective 2025.
Bonuses. So I was thinking about maybe modifying it a little bit, but, I mean, to look at lowering it, I mean, but at the same time, Carrie's done the work and looked at, and we're still at the lower end of your comparables.
Yep.
Yes. You still don't reach midpoint on the 14 comparables that I looked at.
And it's difficult to look at everything, so.
Yep.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. More discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
All right, so the next item I have is the capital budgeting. I just wanted to reference information that I've sent out to the board, and I'm not asking for any action specifically, but just wanted to reference that you had all received that, and there are still a couple of departments that I'm still waiting on some information from. But again, as I had stated previously, I think it would be a good idea, since we've already set our preliminary levy, and, we are not at this point probably in a position to do great planning for 2025, but I certainly think we can start small, and I think that's where we need to start. And just so, departments get used to the idea and really, planning ahead. And my plan then in 2025 would be to spend a lot more time with department heads and whomever does their budgeting process to really take a look at. And then really, I think the focus needs to be for 2025 and then moving forward, really in the planning part of this. We can talk about the funding and how we're going to fund all of this going forward, but certainly prioritizing and really capturing those types of things that we know are coming and that we have to plan for paying for.
I think a good idea, as we move forward in midpoint now would be taking the budget items, not necessarily even this year, but for 26, then take those budget items and then put them, just transfer that. So it's no increase in tax in some of those, but I think we need to increase on some of the maintenance. We'll need to bump that up, but I think some of the reserve money or special general fund money, we could put a startup in there and figure out where that fund should kind of be at for replacement of, say if a significant event happens, how much money should we have in there to replace a boiler? We should probably maintain I think the discussion was $300,000 to $500,000 in there.
Yeah, and that's what I was
after we get it
recommending. Yes.
established.
Yep.
So those are things that we can start looking at for 26 budget cycle, and that earmark some of that money for that startup there.
Yep.
Yes. Any other questions on that? Okay, I'll move along then. Cannabis is, again, this is just for discussion, as you've received lots of information, and I did find another draft resolution, which I've actually sent to Kyle as well. I wanted him to compare that to what he already had in draft for cannabis ordinance. But the one that I had sent out recently to you all, it was quite lengthy. But a lot of information is out there, and I tried to answer a lot of your questions that you had posed at the last board meeting. And then as I found, steps of, just a typical licensing process is 19 steps, so it's fairly in-depth. So everything that I've researched and asked questions of other counties, and again, it appears as though the best solution is still to look at through the ordinances and looking at where things could be placed, and rather than going down, I was actually, again, doing some of the research, potentially there's already some lawsuits that have been filed on the lottery system. And again, I think if you get into the position of trying to restrict, I think you open yourself up for some of that type of lawsuit. So that would be my recommendation.
Yeah, I have a concern of some of the growing of how to control that. I mean, I think it's agriculture, or I think light industrial. I don't know how we should classify that.
Pretty much in light industrial.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some recommendations, and I think I put that in the information that, a lot of, and I think that was one of your questions the last time with agricultural and what you do with that, but then you look at, having some parameters.
I think it's just a few, just to make sure that it's not, you don't want it in certain places, I think. And you want to have protections for theft or for.
Yeah, and there's a lot of those types of, rules, if you will, and I couldn't find any drafts specific yet for administrative rules, which was interesting. I thought those were supposed to be out quite some time ago, but so that's where that's at.
Should we have a county grow facility?
You could have a retail if you want. I don't want to work there, but.
I know a guy that would volunteer to be a tester.
All right, so any other questions on that topic before I move on?
I think a lot of the lawsuits, what I was reading on some of it is in the application process.
Yes.
That they thought it was.
They denied a lot of
They denied a lot
applications
because
initially,
yeah.
missing pieces and different things.
But there was a lot more applications than permits, so you
Right.
throw out what's not complete, and they didn't.
But then people are going to challenge how the decisions were made, I'm sure. So,
We'll see what
By the time it gets fixed, it'll be anyone can do it.
yeah, that could very well be.
Okay.
The last item I have, which is included in the packet, the draft agenda for the Truth and Taxation hearing, which is scheduled on December 12th, the Thursday after everybody comes back from conference. And so I had asked to meet with a few of the department heads, so we just have it clear about who's doing the presentation and which piece everybody's doing. So that's scheduled for later this week.
And a reminder to those who are thinking about attending, it's not about the assessed value of your property. This is about how the county is spending the money and what we're doing. So we always get a pretty good sized crowd that's what they're here for, the assessed value.
Yeah.
But if the assessor's on here, that takes a lot
Yes.
of questions. And
Yeah, usually the assessor's here and
they
can
go
take
up
those
and meet
and.
with them.
Yeah, and I think just announcing that at the beginning of the hearing again,
Yeah,
that if you're here
yeah.
for the assessed value, that they
Then
can
they
certainly
go
meet
with
within the assessor's office.
I think we did that last.
Or whatever room we designate for that. So,
I
all
think you
right.
brought him up to the jury room last.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe more room. So, all right. And with that, that's all I have.
Okay. Is that it for
Yes, that is it.
Yara?
Good morning. I actually have a relatively lengthy list today. First that I have in the packet is the length of service. So this is the one that Carrie did reference earlier, making that change to the personnel policy to up the percentages for 16 through 20, 21 through 25, 26 through 30, and then over 30-year longevity, as we did in the contracts for the unions. This has also been offered to the ASME union because they were the first to settle and they did not have this in their contract. Both of those would go into effect 1/1 of '25. I don't have an answer back from Ask Me yet, so I'm hoping to have that for the next board meeting. As well as removing the elected officials wording from the current policy.
Need a motion on the?
Yes.
Do I have a motion on the update?
I'll make a motion to approve the update.
Second.
Motion by Erica, second by Barry. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thanks.
Okay. The second item that I have that I will need a motion on is the revising of the policy that I did bring before you on the November 5th meeting. So it was brought to my attention, we did remove the verbiage for an exception to carry over vacation time. We removed the verbiage altogether simply because we didn't want it to continue to be kind of a norm. We wanted it to be only in certain circumstances and really any circumstances that are outside of the employee's purview to use their vacation. So wanting to clarify that verbiage and add it back into the policy.
So with that, I had asked Tier to bring this back with the idea that for transparency purposes, I think it's important that people know that there is this clause in here because I didn't think it was fair because I think you're always going to have, potentially unique situations where people aren't able. But again, as Tier indicated, this isn't something that we want to be the standard or the norm either. So it seemed to be the right thing just to put the language back in so all could read the same information.
Now, after I read the initial email, I was more confused on what it meant than what I was, but I talked to Carrie and she explained it and took her a while to get it to me, but I certainly can agree to move forward. So I'll make a motion to update the policy for vacation as written.
I'll second.
Motion by Barry, second by Dave. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried.
So the next items that I have are the contract addendums for the unions that have so far responded for the vacation policy. So as we did previously, we did move the carryover or the cap date to March 31st in the personnel policy, as well as upping the amount to 240 hours that people can carry over. I have received tentative agreements from the deputies union, LELS deputies union, LELS, good grief, I can't say that, essential administrators, the Human Services Supervisors Association, and the LELS Supervisors Union, as well as the two Teamsters unions. I don't have those printed, I apologize for that. The Teamsters Courthouse and the Teamsters Sheriff's Clerical. I did get a response back from Teamsters Human Services. They are not accepting the offer of this, so their policy will stay the same. And I am waiting to hear back from Ask Me and the LELS Dispatch and Jail.
So the policy that stays the same for human services is essentially just the time or the date and the number of hours.
Correct. Yep, that's all that we were offering to change in the policy. They did vote it down.
Okay.
So it would stay at the 224 cap as well as the December 31st carryover date.
Okay.
Whatever. Need a motion to approve the addendum so far?
I'll make a motion to approve the addendums.
I'll second.
Erica, Dave, further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I was just curious, the addendums, I mean, as presented?
As
Because
presented.
it kept
Should we,
concur and as presented.
should we list them all?
I think they can list them out in the minutes, but here, how you want to make that clear.
Yeah, I think
Pretty much all listed here.
Except for one.
Some are still waiting for it. They'll come in later, hopefully.
And then my last item is just a discussion on how the board would like to proceed with approving the job descriptions written by the DDA class and comp study. We have sent them back to the department heads at this time and asking how we would like to proceed with actually approving, if the board would like them brought before you, if you'd like a work session, how we would go about it.
Could each committee look at them?
That
That's
was
what I
one of the suggestions that I had that to perhaps, because obviously there's going to be a lot of them, to vet them through the appropriate committees, and then perhaps make a committee recommendation to the board if that's
Yep.
how you would like to do
Yep.
it. And keep in mind, this is the rewrite of the job descriptions, but also there are some recommendations, which I've referenced in the past, of some career ladders within a few of our departments that are being kind of tweaked, or kind of the final steps of those are being done as well. But again, I don't know that that would come as any surprise. That's been talked about previous as well.
I think going through committee, vetting in a committee, making recommendations is good.
And
too.
then bring it before
Yeah.
they have each commissioner bring, okay.
If there is still not, if the employee of whatever thinks that it's not fair, and the board makes that decision, is there another appeal process, or I mean, I think that would be it, wouldn't it?
Yes,
No.
that would be it.
I would think, because if this board has reviewed it, that would
Yeah.
be the final
Yep.
committee.
Yeah, and just to just remind the board as well, in 2025, once we get through these job description approvals, et cetera, 2025 is when we start our maintenance. So certain job classes or by departments, however it's determined, will be then random, or I don't know if it'll be random, or there's also some positions that were on our radar from before that they'll be reviewed to make sure that they're still falling within, marketable positions. Or marketable wages. I'll try that again.
Yes, hopefully that the market has settled down a little bit now and not fluctuating so fast, quickly anyway, so. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you.
Tara. Sheriff.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I have 3 items this morning. The first one being a request to purchase 4 mobile routers, Cradle Point routers, and these would be used for our jail vehicles with the addition of body-worn cameras. The low quote being $11,698.40.
And wasn't this coming out of your
Safety funds.
Public safety fund, that's
public
correct.
safety fund from the state?
Yes.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion by Barry, second by Dave. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And item number 2, this is a memorandum of understanding with Lakes Area Adult Education. They would like to use our space in the jail to work with our inmates, and they will be providing the jail with a payment of $6,500 for use of that classroom space from December 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025.
And Chris had talked about this at committee, and he really wants to bring this back and create that partnership again. It had gone away for a while, and I think it's a good thing.
Well, especially when they're
They're gonna pay us, yeah.
Yeah, and the school has income from doing these classes.
do, yeah,
so
they
it's
get a
it's
grant, yeah.
Positive.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
it's unfortunate that it had a short falling out. so.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion on the MOU?
I'll make a motion to approve the MOU with Lakes Area Adult Education.
Second.
Motion by Dave, second by Barry. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
And item number 3 is a purchase request for 5 portable radios for the jail. This is a budgeted item. And this will be through Motorola Solutions, which is on state contract.
And that's 13?
13,026, sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of the 5 portable radios for 1326.
I'll second.
Motion by Barry, second by Dave to purchase the radios. Stated price. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
Was Jim coming in?
She thinks he's online.
Jim, are you online?
We're a little ahead of schedule.
Yeah, we are
so
ahead of schedule.
Why don't we take a few minute break?
That sounds like a great idea.
Barry, you need one? Okay. Back in session. Jim?
All right, good morning, Commissioners. One item for your consideration from Highway today, we're seeking a variance request for the design of Westlake Drive, a certain element. There are certain standards of building a road, and one of the standards on this road, we're building it to a 30-mile-per-hour roadway. And the curve at Washington Avenue and Westlake Drive does not meet the 30-mile-per-hour standard. So as a result, we got a request a variance from state aid rules. We've done this on the past on other projects, but it's a process. You approve the resolution, but I'll just step through. The picture up on the screen now is what the proposed road would look like with that curve. That curve only meets about, I don't know, maybe 22 miles per hour curve. And in requesting our variance, we got to make justification, so we have to look at what a 30-mile-per-hour curve does and those impacts. And Peggy, if you went to the next one, you can see there will be significant impacts of constructing a 30-mile-per-hour curve at that corner. It would essentially take out Hub 41, their pond, and impact that canopy at the hotel there. Second example, if you move on, we try to, avoid those. We get an unfavorable road design that kind of curves the road, and those entrances into the hub and that, and the lake sports or the lake shirts there, that becomes a problem with entering and exiting with the curve and sight distances and things like that. So this is all part of a process that we're explaining and justifying our request for that curve, that lesser curve, that sharp curve there at Washington and Westlake Drive. So we need a resolution of for the request to allow this, and then we will go through an interview process with MnDOT on this. And I don't know if any of you commissioners have been on the variance committee before, but there's usually a county engineer, city engineer, and 2 elected officials, typically a city council member and a commissioner. They kind of hear our story and then they vote on it, and we feel that we're confident that this will pass. It's very extreme if we construct that 30-mile-per-hour curve.
Well, then this scenario,
This area that's on the lake, we don't expect traffic to be traveling 30 miles an hour in that area
Nope.
anyway.
Yep.
It's not a,
When you do that, then you have to put a speed limit zone on the curve then, or you just?
We put an advisory sign. It's not enforceable, but you see them like on
Recommended.
curves, 45
Yellow
mile
one.
per hour curves. You see them
I
in the
don't
rural
take that
roads.
curve now at 30 miles an hour.
So, no.
well, if you drive down that road at 30 miles an hour, people are
Yeah,
gonna be,
very seldom are you
looking
gonna
at
get.
You can do it this time of year,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, yeah,
during the summer, I bet most of us going 20 or under.
yeah, about 20, yeah.
So, a motion 1C, or a resolution 1C in front of us.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Richard, I'll second that. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
We're a fair amount ahead of schedule, so I think we have to wait till 10 for our planning and zoning, so.
Could we, this
Take
might be
another
a
break.
little, odd, but could we kick everybody out into our closed session?
And then come back.
Then come back at 10?
I think you could.
We can do that.
Then we're
Yeah, then we'll be
not
back
just sitting
on.
around for a half hour.
We have to wait till 10 anyway, so,
Yeah.
for the planning and zoning.
We gotta have a closed session scheduled. We're gonna, being we're well ahead, we're gonna close the meeting now to the public and then we'll reopen it.
Reopen it at 10.
Or before.
Okay, I got a motion to close the meeting pursuant to statute 13D05 sub 3.
So moved.
Don't you have to read the whole thing,
Second.
John?
I don't have it in front of me.
I got it right here.
I second.
Motion by Erica,
Second.
second by Barry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried.
I guess it's 9:59 technically, yeah.
It is 10 o'clock, so we'll proceed with planning and zoning. Kyle?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. First item I have for you is a request for an extension of recorded document number 697936, just for the Zern family LLLP. It's a request for an extension on an existing conditional use permit. Number one reason for the extension would be is that application was being litigated over the last few years or year and a half. That has concluded with the court upholding your guys' decision to grant. So looking for another 2-year extension.
A motion for
Motion to approve.
Motion by Barry, second by Richard. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Second item is Planning Commission recommendations from November 27th. The first being Casey Clem requesting an amendment to recorded document number 654801 to remove stipulation number 2, which was a travel restriction on the east side of Forest Hills Campground via 230th Avenue. The recommendation was to remove, but I've had some further correspondence with the resort itself and Audubon Township, and they've agreed or negotiated to limit that travel, no travel via 230th on the east side of the campground, June, July, and August. So the gravel pit could travel that way outside of those summer 3 months.
That was,
That accurate?
Correct.
Luke?
So that would be what the stipulation is?
Yeah, so it would
We would be,
we'd amend instead of remove.
And
I
that was,
believe you're okay
That's
with?
correct.
Yeah.
I represent the resort and we
Oh.
agreed to that.
that was an agreement with Clem also, the applicant?
Yes,
He was okay
he's
with
okay
that?
with that.
Is there anyone here that wishes to offer any different option or? any
You
other- I
got
mean, that-
Luke here from the township. I don't see the applicant here.
I mean, I think it's important to note that the township was the one that requested the removal of the stipulation, not Clem's.
Right.
If it's, sounds like it's a very good compromise, so.
Yeah.
What
make-
what wordage do you want?
So we will just amend, the existing one says,
Add those months.
no travel on the east side of the campground via 230th Avenue, and I would just say during June, July, and August.
Okay,
I'll make that motion
make that motion to amend the
to amend the stipulation.
second.
Motion by Erica, second.
I second.
Second by Barry. Further discussion? Does this just limit Clem then, and what about other trucks?
Well, we ain't limiting no other trucks. We shouldn't even be limiting Clem.
Well, it's-
This is America, but
It's
we
just,
shouldn't be.
just the CUP for the Clem.
Okay.
Yep.
Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried.
The next item was tabled, but I'll just give you a little background on that Wendell application from a change of zone from ag to residential. There's a request for a preliminary plat there that would be going to Lakeview Township, should it proceed. But there's just some annexation procedures going on. The applicant chose to table. They'll be meeting with myself, probably the chair, and then Lakeview Township and the city. We don't have a date for that yet, but they did table themselves.
And I think these are difficult ones, you know, obviously you probably know my opinion, but I think these are difficult when they're looking to be annexed, and you certainly don't want the 2.5 acre lots if the city's going to annex them, so these are,
Well, the annexation is in progress, isn't it?
They have filed it.
Filed it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's an administrative decision through a judge or how that works, but it's something I'm not familiar with, but the applicant did agree to table and at least go through a discussion with them.
well, it's best to do the planning in this beforehand, because if those expenses, if you start building, then the costs are just outrageous, so.
Right.
Okay.
And then the last applicant was Larry and Cynthia Winterfeld, requesting a conditional use permit for storage units, and the recommendation was to approve.
Something that, I don't know what the density, we just got the minutes and I don't know the density of this project at all, but just reviewing our policy, as we move forward, it'd be nice. Obviously, they'd take care of the water mitigation because of Minnesota pollution control, but just a 2-row trees on the buffer around property owners would be, at least break up some of that industrial look that we have in countryside now. And I hate these storage shed complexes that are built all over it. It looks like we're in industrial area. So just my food for thought. I don't know what this one is, so I'm certainly not going to
This one is,
stand in its way under the,
sure. This one is within the shoreline district, so the density is considerably less than one, such as 5 and 6. Again, considerably less. The applicant did offer a buffer. It wasn't stipulated, but the adjacent property owner to the north was there. We talked about a fence and leaving some vegetation there, for sure.
well, if he agreed to it, can we put it in the,
He's here if you, well, both of them are here, but
I'd like to also stipulation in there that the lilac bush row is left along McDaniel's driveway.
okay. Is that your
The east.
driveway?
I agree, yes.
Okay, east side.
That gives them some buffer. As far as the approach being moved, I'm not in favor of that, but if the applicant would want to widen it a little bit to the west, that's a highway department issue, so you contact them. Moving it down the hill a little further, I'm not so sure, because you get an approach every few feet. I'd rather see a wider one, but that'd be a recommendation, I guess, not a stipulation, so.
So the stipulations that were agreed to were the tree buffer on which side?
Well,
North.
definitely north and now the east.
And the lilacs to the east?
Yes.
They're right next to kind of the property line driveway going in to the McDaniel's property back there. So.
So I'll make a motion to approve with those 2 stipulations.
Motion by Erica,
I'll second.
second by Dave. Further discussion?
Mr. Chair, there's a question from the audience. One of the
Did you get a copy of what I had printed out as far
Yeah,
as?
yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Because the light is also an issue.
Yeah, they're,
Green Pond is putting up a monster
yeah,
building.
most of the, we could, are down lighting that they use, so it doesn't go up.
directional lighting for down.
Directional lighting, down lighting.
I agree. I don't know, I'm on this, this community app and they're saying Fairhill, no, not Fair Hills, down at Pelican Lake, there's that is it boys and girls or anyway, that resort, they have lights, their whole beach is just lit. So at night, it's just completely lit up. And I don't know what the reasoning for is. Is it the Young Life Club down there? Is that what it is? Then they have many feet of lakeshore. It's just all lights. I'm a proponent of, we don't have a yard light. I don't have any lights on at my place. So I appreciate someone else saying that the yard or just yard lights are promotion. Now you have to, as a business owner, you want some protection for your properties, but if they can be directional down, I think we've asked that stipulation for rural commercial sites in the past, that the lights be focused onto the building, back to the building, not out the residents.
I would amend my motion to include a stipulation for downward lighting.
I seconded it, so I'll okay with that.
Okay, we got that, Kyle?
Yep.
Any further discussion? Got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thanks.
Our last item is a consideration of Resolution 12-24-1D, which would be the adoption of the updated comprehensive land use plan. I just have two small things after going through it one last time. Page 34, under the fourth paragraph, it says since the last comprehensive plan update in 2015, that should be 2003. We didn't, to my knowledge, have an update in 15. And then just the front page, there is a photo on the top. I'd just like to change that to Dutton Locks or something similar to the county one.
Mr. Chair, I have some questions on this. Where did we add the discussion about forestry? The acknowledgement of forestry.
Give me one sec.
So,
Is that where you were talking about preservation?
Sustainability, I think, was,
Sustainable forestry in some of our,
I know I asked her about that more than once. So there should be a forestry section in here.
Was that brought up in our last meeting, Erica,
I think so.
with Robin?
and then I thought we agreed that the map on future use would be taking out the 2 mile around the cities, Lake Park and Audubon, to make, right now they're currently residential. And I thought we were going to eliminate the R2s and just pull that back to the R1s. That was what we discussed at our last meeting. And if you look at the future use, the orange and yellow are there, and it was supposed to just be yellow.
I thought we were keeping the orange around the cities.
yeah.
Well, we're keeping one of them, it doesn't matter what color, but we are keeping the R1 around. I get my.
Because we took the.
You have both of them now, and we're going to eliminate one of them, is what I was.
I know it, I went through this earlier, and I know it specifically talks to the harvesting of timber and the value of it to the county.
Yeah, I did not see it. But there's parts of it that you skim through because it's
Yeah.
not.
We've read it so many times.
Yeah.
We've read it so many times, yeah.
Here, actually, I bet if I control find, I can find it.
Here, under existing conditions, the Natural Resource Management Department, Becker County oversees nearly 75,000 acres of tax forfeited land with the aim of responsible management for environmental, social, and economic benefits. Page 42.
To talk about timber harvest specifically, because I know I read that this morning.
Can you pop this up on the screen?
Says the forests provide income for local loggers, mill
Yeah.
operators, and raw materials for growing communities.
Forests in Becker County, yeah, page 42, are
42.
strategically managed to produce timber and other essential products supporting Minnesota's forest industries.
So it's under existing conditions, it's the second paragraph.
Yes.
Okay. Nitrogen management? All right. Go to the map on page 20. What page is the map on?
On 20 and 30 or 20, yeah,
Future land.
30.
use map.
30.
Oops.
So what I recall with this is we had yellow in many other different places, and we removed them. But my recollection was we were going to keep the yellow and the orange around the cities to account for expansion.
Just future reference. It's
Well, the problem I have with that is,
nothing in zoning or anything, it just, that's where expansion,
but you look at, first of all, it's so vague you can't tell anything, but you look at Audubon Township here, look at all the, look at the yellow in Audubon Township, and look at how far out this yellow goes. In R1 then, R1 goes down to what, 1 acre?
R1 is,
Is one, yes.
So you're promoting 1 acre lots
Oh, well, that's my place.
Yeah. And I don't, and that's all rural, I mean, it's all rural, it's all farmland. Lake Park, there's Becker one. I mean, we have a section, there's a section of land here without a building on it, and you're promoting 1 acre building lots on. I just think it's ridiculous. What I thought we agreed to was to take all the yellow out and make the orange yellow.
I don't think there was a concession from your last.
Weren't we gonna go to the 2 mile? That's what I understood, that we were gonna,
It was 2 miles around.
Well,
we were,
Still
the
those.
city can do a 2 mile extra territory anytime they want.
right, but I thought that we were gonna kind of use the 2 mile, were we not talking about that?
That's what we discussed, but
Just to,
but Commissioner Nelson did bring up that concern at the last meeting, but there was.
Well, you just look at, I mean, I don't want to promote developers coming in and saying, hey, there's land here that's in yellow. If I buy that, I'm gonna get 1 acre lots. That's gonna go, you could, I mean, then you just change it to residential land, and then you can do 1 acre lots. I just don't think it's reasonable to do 1 acre lots 2 miles outside of Lake Park in the middle of a field somewhere. I don't think and I don't think you're gonna get the land for one, but there's parcels out there where you could get a 40 acre parcel and now you come here and say, I want this changed over to residential.
I think the thing that we need to think of is this is not current. This is thinking now and into the
This is 10
future.
years. 10 years is what it says.
you
For
know,
the next 10 years, you want this yellow all to be residential with 1 acre lots.
you know, and it does sound, that is pushing it over by Lake Park, but here it's not.
I
When you
completely
get to
agree.
Detroit Lakes, 2 miles is nothing.
I agree.
We have a lot of residential out there.
It's a whole different ballgame when you're talking about Detroit Lakes and Lake Park and Audubon.
Yeah.
And for, and or whatever small towns you're talking about. Callaway doesn't have any. Why isn't Callaway the same as Lake Park and Audubon if that's your philosophy? Throw 2 miles outside of Callaway and it's all residential.
How far, how far out do you think we should be?
Well, I mean, I think a compromise is if you're within that half mile, I mean, these towns, you take 2 miles around Lake Park, that's 4 times the size of the city. I mean, the numbers are huge. I just think you eliminate all the yellow and make the orange around Lake Park and Audubon yellow if you want. I mean, at least it pulls that back in a little bit more risk. And we still have the authority to review that at the board. I probably still won't approve anything unless it's a full development that shows what, when someone comes in and asks just to change 40 acres into residential, I'm very skeptical on what's going to go in there, and you don't have any idea or control. Now, if they come in with saying, we're going to have this development and we're going to put 30 houses or 25 houses in, but they're in pads, they're not allowed to put outbuildings, well, then they're compromising to get those smaller areas in rural settings. So that's my concern. And I think the public has kind of said that unless you're in city settings, you shouldn't have small lots. You shouldn't have 1 acre lots. So
Remind me again what R2 is.
Yeah.
We haven't decided that, but basically R2 was just geared towards that annexation discussion like we had, so it would be more dense, but we haven't decided that. That would be like a fourplex or what it would be, but R2 would be within a half mile, so the orange is a half mile.
The orange is a half mile from city
Yeah.
limits. And I think the reason really where, you mentioned, Barry, why didn't we do it north on 59 of Callaway and Ogamun? Really, it's because it's projected this is where the growth is going to be.
well, there's no growth
In Becker
projected to be
County.
north of Highway 10 for residential. I mean, that's just not projected. I don't know if anyone, if you go, no, I'm talking north of Lake Park. North of Lake Park, there's no projected growth path unless you're in the city limits getting, right near the city. It's just all field up there and wildlife. I mean, there's scattered homes, but that's my opinion. Now you get north of Audubon and you get east farther, now you're getting closer to Detroit Lakes, but I think if you go down to that size, I would like to see the full plan of a development prior to then just changing residential. But I could live with the half mile go to yellow, but I still won't probably support 1 acre lots down there, but at least it's got some,
What is that jet big addition? Is that in the city limits now?
I don't know if it's in city limits, but it has its own water and sewer.
Right.
And they're big lots. They're 2.5 acre lots.
Or are they?
Yeah.
So can we put something in our zoning ordinance that a stipulation or whatever for changing it within the 2 mile, half mile, whatever it is we're going to decide, that they have to have a plan
Well, I
for,
think that's,
Well, we don't have that right now, but it's not uncommon. Like the city of Detroit Lakes, if you come in and we had this discussion at the planning commission meeting, that preliminary plat only showed 10 lots, but it was obviously a large piece of property, and you could request that there's a concept beyond what they're proposing.
see, there's a difference in being annexed, in my opinion, and being out in the country. And I think we had a conference just a couple weeks ago. Kyle brought me in, and the developer was looking at a proposal, and it was over dense, but they put restrictions on it. And I'm like, this makes sense. The tech panel was there, and they were saying, this is good, but you're putting limits. And I think that with that development, it was 1 building per acre, I think, was the density. But they had restrictions on what you could do, and I think everyone had some positive feedback for that type of development. But anyway, I'm just saying I'm not going to support this map moving forward.
What's the board's consensus? Do we want to?
And I do have a few other.
I don't have a problem cutting down some of that
Yeah, I don't either.
yellow around those.
I have no problem doing that too.
If half mile is probably good enough for now. It's
On
not
the
gonna
small,
grow that.
and this is 10 years. This isn't, long term. 10 years is like this,
or
And it's
longer.
not like
but it says 10
something
years.
can't be there anyway, right?
Yeah, I would suggest you keep it in Detroit and Frazee, but certainly it's not going to harm anything to reduce it west out there.
yeah, I would agree to that.
I would agree to that too.
Yeah.
There are-
So what's orange in Lake Park and Audubon will be yellow, and what's yellow will be
Green.
light green?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are a few things that I would like to touch base on, just with the whole ordinance, or see if I can find. There's some minor things I'm not going to go through all of these because I still had some. But there was some listings where it lists the watersheds, but it's not clear that they're working with other entities. Let me get to.
This is on page 37.
Oh, I had a question on page 19, and I don't know if this is a misprint or not. Page 19, it's second paragraph. It says, as part of the Northwest Planning Region, Becker County is projected to have 5.1% increase in employment levels over the next decade. Here's my question. In 2022, employers posted 20,409 job vacancies in the region. Is that accurate? Because it goes on to say, the county, according to Ezra 23 data, there's only 17,000 employees in the county.
Well, this is the Northwest region.
It's a region, not the county.
Well, yeah, I know it says in the region, but what is that relevance then to Becker County? So you're just saying regionally, and then it doesn't state the region. I mean,
That's on it.
Northwest Planning Region.
Thought it stated it somewhere else. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, it's fine in there, but it's a little confusing when you're talking about Becker County, and then in the region, you have 20,000 jobs listed, and then Becker County has 17,000 jobs. It doesn't, you kind of go, they have more job openings than jobs in Becker County.
Well,
I thought it did. I thought I saw somewhere where it said what the Northwest Planning Region was, but maybe not.
Maybe just state the Northwest region, which encompasses
Yeah.
7 counties, has this many job openings. That would make it clear that
Yeah,
what
it
the
would-
region
it would-
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does look a little confusing.
Or say in 2022, the Northwest planning region
which is 7
Which is-
counties.
posted,
Yeah.
employers posted.
I take issue with a couple statements in there, but I won't bother, nobody's going to fine tune at that. And then here's a statement that I think would have a potential to come back and haunt us. On page 27, mirroring commercial activities, the last sentence in that it says, the desired outcome to create more connected and walkable communities where residents, seasonal residents, and tourists can walk and bike to retail, restaurants, and recreation attractions. If that's the case, we will be building walking and bike trails in rural, and I don't think we plan on doing that. I don't think we're planning on building trails to Cormorant Pub, to Cormorant. It's just not feasible. So we start doing that and people are going to say, well, where's the trails? You guys said you wanted to build all these walkable places. Let's then put them up. Are we planning on building walking and biking trails to every little community?
I guess that's not how I read it.
That's not how I see it either. I don't see it that, but.
Well, the desired outcome is to create more connected and walkable communities where residents, seasonal residents, and tourists.
Desired
It's a
and
wish list.
connected, I mean, to create more, but not like all over.
Well, I think the average cost per mile for a trail off the road is $300,000 a mile after development, isn't it? I mean, it's not. Anyway, I just think people are going to say, well, let's. And then there's areas in page like 35 that doesn't say other agencies such as the Otter Tail River. It should say watershed, not just the Otter Tail River. And then Buffalo Red River watershed, Wild Rice watershed, Cormorant Pelican, and then they did not list Red Eye watershed in that, and lake associations. But
We could also take soon crowing. Well, I mean, I guess it's not officially,
It will,
but it will,
Yeah.
yeah.
It will be.
you can add those in there.
What was that?
they're just not listing all of them. I don't know. You could just say coordinate with all with watersheds and lakes, so you wouldn't have to list them all every time. Because we have numerous ones. But I think some of those are just, I think those small changes can be, I mean, they're just wordsmithing. I think we would accept that you can wordsmith and make those type of corrections ongoing. I don't think we need to probably put a lot of time in those, don't you think?
Yeah.
It does list every watershed, I believe.
The list isn't complete. And it lists them in like 4 different spots and each one is different.
But if you, under where it says watersheds, are they all listed?
No. they're
No?
not. I've got that list too
Is
if
that
you want.
37?
Yeah, I think I'd rather just eliminate naming them and
And just
say
say all
all of them.
watersheds.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
on page 37 where it says watersheds and then it lists all the watershed,
Red Eye,
They're missing Cormorant and Pelican.
yeah.
I think I know they're missing Cormorant and 1, 2, 3,
Otter
4,
Tail.
6.
It's river, should be Otter Tail.
But isn't there a confusion there where like Cormorant and Pelican are a district within the actual watershed itself? These are the 6 actual watersheds within, you know what I mean?
They're the larger watersheds, but the Otter Tail is not an active watershed, where Cormorant and Pelican are an active with boards and employees.
But what is the difference between a watershed and a watershed district?
Well, now you're getting a little bit, a watershed district within the watershed, is you talking a taxing district?
That must be because that's what Cormorant and Pelican would be then, a
They're
taxing district?
the taxing districts within a larger watershed that's not incorporated.
Gotcha.
Because Otter Tail is not, I mean, I think they're doing some funding for that through Otter Tail Soil and Waters are kind of leading that. But the Pelican and have employees and their own boards. And I don't think Otter Tail has they have the policy board, but they don't have their own governing board.
They're the total watershed, but then you got the other sub-districts, watershed, or Pelican and Cormorant within that.
Because the Otter Tail is not an active watershed.
Well, I was just wondering if that was maybe why they didn't have them listed. because they were a sub-watershed within a watershed.
But I think-
That's what I took when I read it. It's just a.
But the Pelican
it's a
watershed
big
is,
watershed district. And then you got your other ones that are.
but the Pelican watershed's more important for anyone than the Otter Tail.
Right.
Too, so.
So I mean, it should be included in the watersheds in your area because they actually require permits and where Otter Tail doesn't. I mean, you're in the Otter Tail, they don't require anything. Oh, wait, you're in Pelican, they do. So,
Yeah, it's just-
but I think those things can be just, they're not policy changes, they're just, and if, I think
Anything else?
I think those can, if we're okay with changing just some of those, not policy but just some of the wordsmithing, I think there's a few things in there that we need to just change a little bit for better reading, but, and if we.
Biggest change would be the
map.
map.
The map.
Okay. And
You want-
that's some,
I can certainly bring it back at your next meeting.
I'm fine if we just accept that the yellow all goes away into the orange on the community, you know.
It'd be nice to move on.
It would, but when you pass this, I don't know if I can wordsmith.
That does make sense. Colin.
I don't
Well,
have a problem bringing it back.
Just
It's
bring
no
it
big-
back with that map and I
It's-
can show you the few things that I found and it's mostly to do with naming watersheds.
Yeah, I got no problem bringing it back. I'd rather do that than,
bring it back the next meeting?
yeah, then I know
Corrections?
it'll
Do we have
all
to
be.
post it again? Like,
Well, it's posted on the minute or on the agenda, it should be all you need to do.
Yeah, I'll take care of it. I'd rather do it that way.
You want him to bring it back to the special meeting on the 31st?
our next board meeting, the 17th. is it the
17th.
Or
17th?
17th,
I think we
sorry.
get it done the
Okay.
17th.
That's right, I forgot we had another meeting.
Yeah.
Ahead of myself.
Okay, everybody agree? Agreement with that? Bring it
Yep.
back.
Yep, that's fine.
Changes? Okay. Roger.
Yeah, can I address the board a minute? What it's worth. 20-some years ago, you and I were involved in this comprehensive plan. I don't think there's many around anymore. But remember, we met 2 or 3 times even at the Holiday Inn. And we were just lucky to get the corridor from Lake Park, can I see that? Lake Park done down to Frazee. We didn't take in consideration for 59, 34, or the Richwood Road. Richwood Road was talked about, but we didn't. But I think we had one watershed involved, and you probably represented that. Then some cities, you know, so back then, 20, I maybe even signed off on it, I don't know, but that's when we were lucky just to get it after several meetings. And I think it's probably, for the most part, it's been good, but not perfect. So the other thing, though, I neglected to get a copy to go through it, you know, because of all the townships, but has the solar arrays been addressed in this corridor? Because they're popping up, I read the paper, a few permits come in for solar. So do you have an area that you don't want them in there? I think that should be addressed too.
Yeah, one thing I mentioned to the board earlier today, Clay County's got a huge proposal down by Wilkin County.
Yeah.
And once they get over 5,000 acres, they bypass counties completely. They go right to the state public utilities, so they don't need county approval once they get to be that large, which is concerning. I don't know if there's anything counties can do about it. I'm sure probably we'll be lobbying for some recognition at the state level this year, but I think we want to promote smaller ones. I mean, if someone wants to put in a small facility on their own, it's these larger ones that kind of become, in my opinion, an eyesore, just like the commercial storage buildings that
That's
get.
why I'm saying
so-
this should probably be put on the zoning's plate or yours, because as serving on the electrical board, I mean, they come in at about 39, 40 kW.
Mhm.
And we've got them in our wild rice area, but maybe a concern for
I
you
think
guys.
we're going to be looking at ordinance time when we start.
I think so.
You'll see it today. So just in the comp plan, it just says under goals and policies, under to embrace infrastructure efficiencies and innovations that accommodate emerging technologies and build resilience. Policy 3.1 would allow cutting-edge solutions that facilitate the integration of solar, wind, and other sustainable energy sources into the infrastructure network. So it does talk about embracing it. in our ordinance, if they meet any threshold for the Public Utilities Commission, we're going to refer them. That would be for any type of utility. It could be wind, solar, what have you. But no matter what, they're going to be conditional. Unless it was like a residential type array, then it would probably be permissible.
Yeah, I think the small ones on your own homes and, like I have a pretty good acreage if you wanted to put a small set of panels. I mean, Lake Region had some offers a few years ago, but they were too small. I don't know. I mean, they weren't huge and they're not, if you're willing to have it in your yard, they're not going to be too big.
Like I'd say, and I just want to bring it up, they're popping up in our area. I mean, Cuba's getting one now probably and so on, but I just want to
I certainly
make a comment on it.
certainly very concerned about farms that are coming in and taking thousands of acres. Even hundreds of acres is very concerning to me on what that would make our community
I
look like.
have gone down and made a spiel to the legislators, get them on wildlife land. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Anything else? Not? Meeting adjourned. We go into a work session. Excuse me.